We all know that feeling, right? You want to make positive changes, get healthier, learn something new, be more productive. Sounds great.
Yeah, absolutely.
But actually doing it, that gap between knowing and doing, it just feels huge sometimes. You get overwhelmed, maybe lose steam, and those big plans kind of fizzle out.
That's exactly it. And that's precisely the challenge we're diving into today. We're looking at James Clear's book, Atomic Habits, an easy and proven way to build good habits and break bad ones. Came out back in October 2018.
Right. Super popular book.
Hugely popular, and our mission here is really to pull out the core insights, focus on the system he lays out for making changes that actually stick long term.
So what is it about this book? Why has it clicked with so many people?
Yeah.
Because it feels like it really does bridge that gap, between wanting to do something and actually doing it.
I think it's the core idea, the power of these atomic habits, tiny changes.
Tiny, yeah, like almost counterintuitive. We hear so much go big or go home stuff.
Exactly. So when Clear says improve by just 1% each day, it almost sounds, well, too simple maybe.
It does. So what's the genius there? Why is that 1% idea so powerful, even if it seems small?
Well, okay, part of it is the math, right? That compounding effect is real. 1% better each day over a year, that adds up to being like almost 38 times better. It's huge.
Wow.
But I think the real genius is psychological. It makes progress feel, well, manageable, not threatening. Big goals can shut us down, but 1%, that feels doable. Easy even.
So it reframes effort.
Yeah, totally. It shows that it's the consistent, maybe even invisible, small stuff that builds the big changes. Less about one giant leap, more like a steady, gentle push.
Okay, and that steady push brings us to that quote, the one I think is sort of the foundation of the whole book. You do not rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your systems.
That's such a key line.
It really is a powerful reframe, isn't it? Shifting from the goal itself to the actual system you use to get there.
Yeah.
But, okay, if you're someone who's always been really goal-focused, how do you make that mental switch? Is there a risk you lose motivation if you're just focused on the system?
That's a really fair question. And Clear does talk about this. He'd say goals are great for like setting your direction, knowing where you want to end up.
Yeah.
But it's the systems that actually drive the progress day to day. So you still have the vision, maybe running a marathon,
Right.
but instead of just staring at that finish line, you build a system for being a runner, like shoes by the door, wake up time set, maybe just a 20-minute jog to start. That system keeps you moving even when motivation for the big goal dips.
Ah, okay, so it's about building the identity first.
Exactly. You become the kind of person who does the thing, and then the outcome sort of takes care of itself.
So if the systems are the key, how do we actually, build good ones? Clear gives us that framework, right? The 4 laws.
Yeah. Yes. And this is where it gets really practical, pulling from behavioral psychology. For the good habits, the laws are 1, make it obvious.
Obvious. Got it.
2, make it attractive. 3, make it easy. And 4, make it satisfying.
Okay. Obvious, attractive, easy, satisfying.
And he connects these really cleverly to the habit loop. The cue, that's the trigger.
Right, the trigger.
The craving, that's the motivation, wanting the reward, the habit itself, and the reward, the satisfaction that makes you want to do it again.
So it's grounded in how our brains actually work. Like, make it attractive taps into dopamine.
Precisely. That anticipation of reward creates the craving. He translates that complex brain stuff into really simple steps.
Which means breaking bad habits is just flipping those laws, right?
Exactly. Make it invisible, make it unattractive, make it difficult, and make it unsatisfying.
So like trying to eat less junk food, make it invisible, don't buy it, or hide it somewhere hard to reach.
Yep. Increase the friction, make it harder to do the bad habit. It's just a really clear roadmap.
Yeah, it really is. Now, something you touched on earlier, and Clear really emphasizes this, is the idea of identity-based habits. This feels like more than just tactics, it's deeper.
Oh, absolutely.
He argues that real change isn't just about what you do, it's about changing who you believe you are. So not, I want to run a marathon, but I am a runner. Why is that shift in identity so much more powerful?
Well, it's fundamental, isn't it? When your habits line up with who you see yourself as, they stick because you're just being you.
Right.
If you identify as, say, a writer, then sitting down to write isn't some chore you have to force yourself into. It's just what writers do.
It becomes natural.
Exactly. It strengthens motivation from the inside out. It's not something forced on you. It's an expression of who you are.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. And building that identity, like I'm a healthy eater, isn't just about willpower, is it? Clear talks a lot about how our surroundings shape us.
Hugely important. Yeah, he says environment is the invisible hand that shapes human behavior.
That's a great line.
It is. And the insight there is that consciously designing your environment, your physical space, even your social circles to support good habits is often way more effective than just trying to muscle through with willpower.
So making the good choice the easy choice.
Pretty much. Making it the path of least resistance. You know, I actually tried this with laying out my workout clothes the night before. It sounds ridiculously simple.
Yeah.
But it honestly made such a difference. Removed that tiny bit of friction in the morning and it shifted the whole dynamic. It's almost embarrassing how well these small environmental tweaks work.
Huh. That's a perfect example of make it easy. But, okay, sometimes you're doing the things, you're following the laws, you set up your environment, and it still feels like nothing's changing. That can be so frustrating.
Oh, definitely. And that's where Clear introduces the concept of the plateau of latent potential.
Right, the plateau.
This is so key because it explains why people often give up too soon. He uses that ice cube analogy.
Yeah, I remember that.
The room warms up from, say, 25 degrees to 31 degrees. You're putting in the effort, raising the temperature, but the ice cube is still just an ice cube. Nothing looks different.
Right, no visible change.
But then, at 32 degrees, boom, it starts melting. All that earlier effort wasn't wasted. It was accumulating, building up potential beneath the surface. Breakthroughs usually come from that sustained, compounded effort, not some sudden event.
That's a really encouraging way to think about it. Trust the process, even when you can't see the results yet.
Exactly. Keep putting in those degrees.
Okay, so let's zoom out a bit. What are the big strengths of Atomic Habits? I mean, number one for me is just how actionable it is. It's not just theory. You get summaries, concrete steps you can take right away.
Absolutely. And it's not dry, is it? He's a great storyteller, uses examples from sports, business, history, things that make the ideas stick.
Yeah, definitely makes it more engaging.
And importantly, while it's accessible, it is science-backed. You can tell it's rooted in psychology and neuroscience. That gives it real weight.
And that structure, the 4 laws framework, just makes it so easy to grasp and apply, like a user manual for your habits.
Couldn't agree more. Now, are there critiques? Sure. Some people find it a bit repetitive.
Okay, I could see that.
He does hammer home the core ideas quite a bit, but honestly, for habit change, maybe that repetition isn't such a bad thing. It helps reinforce it.
Good point. And it's also fair to say some concepts, like habit stacking or the cue craving response reward loop, draw on earlier work, right? Like Duhigg's Power of Habit or B.J. Fogg's Tiny Habits.
Absolutely. He builds on existing foundations, which is fine. Atomic Habits excels at synthesizing those ideas into a really practical system. So if Atomic Habits gives you the how-to, when might you pick up Duhigg's book instead?
Good question. If you're more curious about the why behind habits, the deep dives into the science, the neurology, even the sort of societal stories around habits.
Yeah, Duhigg's great for that. More case studies, more exploration of the underlying mechanisms. Clear gives you the practical playbook. Duhigg digs into the science and stories behind it.
And what about B.J. Fogg's Tiny Habits?
Fogg is fantastic if you feel really stuck and just need that initial momentum. He focuses intensely on making the first step incredibly small and celebrating that tiny win to build confidence. It's very focused on behavior design and that immediate positive feeling.
Okay. And then books like Deep Work, where does that fit?
Well, deep work is more about productivity and focus, specifically creating environments and systems for sustained high-value concentration. So it's related to system design, but with a narrower focus on cognitive performance rather than general habit formation. Different angle.
Got it. So wrapping up on Atomic Habits, who is this book really for?
Honestly, pretty much anyone looking to build good habits or break bad ones. If you struggle with consistency, if you feel overwhelmed by big goals, or if you just like clear, practical, no-nonsense self-improvement advice, this is a fantastic resource.
Yeah, I'd agree. Our verdict, I'd say a solid 9 out of 10. It's incredibly practical, very readable. It doesn't promise magic overnight fixes, which is refreshing. Instead, it gives you a robust system for sustainable change. The lessons apply everywhere. Health, work, relationships, mindset. It really provides a durable foundation. So just to recap the core value here, Atomic Habits gives you that foundation, that powerful system for long-term improvement. It really proves that tiny changes done consistently lead to, well, extraordinary results over time. It shifts how you think about progress.
It really does. And maybe a final thought, tying back to that plateau of latent potential. What's one consistent, small, maybe even tiny atomic habit you could start, or perhaps refine, starting today?
Ooh, good question.
Yeah, just something small.
Yeah.
And trust that even if you don't see the big results right away, those little efforts are building up. They're working towards that breakthrough, maybe just under the surface for now.